in this video, we're going to be talking about how to use the Rhetorical Arch in order to develop a brainstorm for tackling a rhetorical analysis essay prompt. So specifically, right, this is a help for when you're taking an AP language exam and doing a rhetorical analysis essay, or just having to analyze a bit of rhetorical writing, that this chart will help you break down how you would actually write the essay. Now, the Rhetorical Arch is nothing new. I didn't create that at all. But that is only part of the brainstorm that we're looking at here. This entire brainstorm then kind of developed it understanding what you're supposed to be accomplishing when you're writing a rhetorical analysis essay. So it gives you kind of a guideline or an outline for how you would tackle a piece of writing. So first of all, the actual text we're going to use to kind of help us work through this is The World House by Dr. Martin Luther King, because I have a prompt for that. But the prompt for this particular piece is really generic in terms of most of the prompts that you'll come across when it comes to writing a rhetorical analysis essay. So let's first of all take a look at the kind of prompt that you might get. Obviously, the prompt will have some sort of background information in it, and then it will get to the actual writing task. So this is a sample of a writing task that you might come across. Write an essay in which you define the central argument of King's text in this case, but it could be any text, and analyze the rhetorical strategies. It might say rhetorical strategies, it might say rhetorical devices that he uses to construct his argument and achieve his purpose. And so that's the idea of the rhetorical triangle. You have an author, in this case King. You have a topic or a subject, right, that the author is going to be talking about. But there's a purpose that the writer or author wants to accomplish with the audience or in the minds of the audience. So as you read through any piece of rhetoric or prose, in persuasive or argument essay, there's going to be a purpose there. And so the idea here in this essay is you're going to explain what the author does to forward or accomplish his or her purpose, right? And that's where we get to the Rhetorical Arch. Here's your actual prompt, and you get into the Rhetorical Arch here, and you turn the prompt into a question. And it's basically, right, and this is kind of a template for the question. So your question would be something like, for this particular prompt, right, how does King achieve his purpose? Okay, or you could say, what strategies does King use or employ to achieve his purpose? So you're changing the form of the prompt into a question. Okay. And so we have some sort of answer here in order to get to kind of a thesis statement for our essay. Now, a couple things have to happen before I get to this point, right? One, I have to have read the essay. I have had to probably kind of annotate it, but I definitely have to have identified the tonal shift. Okay, so the idea here is when you're writing a rhetorical analysis essay, especially if it's a timed essay, you have a finite period of time in which to write this entire essay. You have an intro, you have a conclusion, and so you're looking at like 5 minutes for each of those, easily. 5 minutes for each of those. You want to try to keep it under 5 minutes as possible, but allow yourself 5 minutes. That's 10 minutes off the top, and you're usually given 40 minutes to write a rhetorical analysis essay for the AP language exam and other exams, 40 minutes. So now you're down to 30 minutes. And the question is, how much time are you going to spend on each body paragraph? If you're going to do 3 body paragraphs, you only have 10 minutes each body paragraph, and they're going to be limited body paragraphs. So to afford yourself more time, you're talking about 2 body paragraphs. And each body paragraph, you can have up to 15 minutes to do that. And so when you think about how much time you got to spend in each body paragraph, if I'm going to be writing 2 body paragraphs, I have to take the piece of writing that I'm analyzing, and I'm going to have to split it into 2, and therefore each of those sections is going to have a purpose. And that's where we get into this idea of a tonal shift. And so oftentimes the creators of these essay questions will take a section of text that you can easily identify some sort of shift. And that's what's called the tonal shift. So as you're analyzing and reading through a passage, you're looking for where the author kind of has one focus at the beginning of the piece and then moves into another focus. And there can be several things that happens. It could be a shift in tone. It could be a movement to kind of, I've established an idea here, and now here's what to do with the idea. And so in some sense, there's a movement or a shifting of perspective or focus or tone or attitude or organization or a this, then that. Maybe it's an if, then kind of causal thing. So there's all kinds of types of shifts that could occur, but you're looking for that shift. And then you can get down to what is the purpose before the shift and what is the purpose after the shift. So here's like a typical template, right? Okay, so King intends that, okay, blank, whatever that purpose is, in order to, and then something he wants to accomplish in that. And that's our basic prompt. We're going to fill that in. We identify the tonal shift, and then we look at that section and we try to figure out, okay, what is it that King wants to do and why? And then it's going to be the same thing here, right? All right, so we're going to come up with another purpose, right? Okay. So it's the same idea. King desires that. These are just templates, right? You can change it around so that, and so this is the idea. So this is just starters here. You obviously have to examine the text. You obviously have to come to some sort of conclusion. And then I can answer this question, right? King, in his speech, The World House, okay, tries to boom so that his audience, okay, does whatever. Okay, so I fill in these blanks. So what I'm hoping you see here is these are just templates, and you could actually use these templates for any piece that you're actually addressing. Just change the author's name, change the title of the work, and you can use this template to kind of help you hone in on what's happening before and after the tonal shift. Now, if you have annotated the actual writing, then the rest of this should come rather easily, because the key here is, okay, this is his purpose, so what is happening in that section of text that would help me identify how that purpose is accomplished? And so here you have a rhetorical choice, and this could be anything from identifying a rhetorical device, not just so you can laundry list a rhetorical device, but so you can understand why he's doing that, right? So maybe in this first passage is like a biblical allusion, and then the quote would be something like, if I go back to the text here, down here in this text, he has this idea where thrilling story of how Moses stood in Pharaoh's court. That's a biblical allusion, right? So I go over here to, this is just a nugget here of the quote, thrilling story of Moses standing in Pharaoh's court. Okay? And then once I have kind of this is something he chose to include here, the impact or intent of that choice. Why did he choose this biblical allusion, right? And the reason, right, would be to connect the current freedom movement with a desire, with a historical desire for freedom, right? So now I have basically a core idea that I would then at some point in my paragraph where I'm talking about King's intent here before the tonal shift, I can use this then to develop concrete detail or evidence, and then analysis of that evidence. So notice that this is actually, this impact intent of that choice is a very important step. I don't want to stop here. I don't want to say King uses biblical allusion when he mentions the story of Moses and then just stop. What I want to do is make sure that I understand the allusion is used to do this, right? And then I would continue on. So hopefully you can see, right, some things definitely have to happen here before I can fill out this chart. I have to have read the prompt and understand what I have to accomplish with this prompt. Then I need to identify a tonal shift in the speech or the prose, the piece of writing I'm analyzing. And I have to figure out, okay, before the tonal shift, what is this author trying to accomplish? And then after I've actually annotated and analyzed the piece, I can start breaking down some of the choices in the movement within that piece before the tonal shift, and I can start to see what the author's trying to accomplish here and how that is actually happening. All right, I do the same thing after the tonal shift. And notice in this particular graphic organizer, I only have 2 rhetorical choices and quotes that I've analyzed. So that tells you that you have to be very careful in your choices. You want to find 2 choices that back up this purpose. They have to kind of work with each other to back up the purpose. And then my impact or intent of that choice has to explain how that particular rhetorical choice proves what I said here about the purpose. And so then you can see I have a very tight paragraph here where I'm intentionally discussing how the author achieved the purpose. And if we go back to the prompt, right, that's exactly what the prompt is asking me to do. Analyze the rhetorical strategies used to achieve the purpose. And so as long as I stay in this kind of framework and use this as a brainstorm and a roadmap to writing the essay, I'm going to stay focused and be able to fulfill the prompt. All right, so hopefully this helps you explain how useful this rhetorical arch brainstorm can be in order to write your rhetorical analysis essay. Right? I didn't give you all the answers in this, obviously, because the desire would be that you could take this arch and you could use it to develop a brainstorm using any rhetorical analysis prompt that you come across. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully now you feel equipped to use this arch and you can print it out and accomplish a brainstorm for any kind of rhetorical analysis piece that you might be given. All right, so until next time, thanks. Really appreciate you watching this video. It would be amazing. You're a fabulous person if you could subscribe to the channel. Here's a bunch of other videos that are writing workshops to help you deal with all kinds of facets of writing and growth as a writer. And then a couple other playlists that you might just find amusing or interesting or even helpful. Thank you so much. Until next time.